This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the Antoine Dupont of website builders.
In April 2005, just 38 days after his 20th birthday, a young flanker by the name of Agustin Creevy made his international debut for Argentina. A year down the line, struggling for game time with the likes of Lobby, Leguizamo and Longo in his way and laid out for the entire 07 World Cup year with a hideous shoulder injury, incoming Argentina coach Santiago Falan suggested Creevy shift his position to hooker. He'd never played front row before, but inside a year he picked up the basics. Inside two, he was challenging legend Mario Ledesma for the national team's starting shirt, playing all 5 games at the 2011 World Cup before making the position his own once Ledesma hung up the size 12s used to stamp on so many scrum halves. In 2014, he was made captain, leading Argentina to the 2015 World Cup amongst a record 51 games as skipper. Slowly but surely, Creevy became a living legend. He was the first Puma to reach 100 caps, a fan favourite at club after club, took his nation to 2 World Cup semi-finals, best ever finishers, and yet the finest hour of his career came not in the middle of that maelstrom of super eminence, but on Saturday, just gone. This weekend, the Razor Robertson show hit its first big speed bump as an exceptional performance from Felipe Contepomi's bedding in Argentina side put the team in touch, ready for a 10 out of 10 20 from Creevy to take them quite literally over the line. A third ever win over New Zealand, a record points tally against the All Blacks, and a glorious first ever taste of victory over his most frequent foe for Gus Creevy. So, how did Argentina do it? What did the All Blacks get wrong? And was Saturday a fair reflection of either side? Where are they heading? How are they doing? How are they looking at the 2 new coaches? Just as David identified Goliath was pretty bad at standing up when you hurl a mighty great rock at his head, teams who beat the All Blacks rarely do it by straight up outplaying them, but instead, over recent years, finding success by identifying and pressuring individual tiny weak points in their game and hitting them over and over, preferably with rocks, creating pressure which can then be ridden into control of that game. Think Australia sniping on the ruck repeatedly, Ireland controlling possession for entire matches, France pinning kicks down the tram lines to limit counterattacks. The sheer level of talent and composure in the black jersey almost always requires something special to get on top, and Argentina on Saturday found that pressure point right from the kickoff, because, rather fittingly, that pressure point was the kickoff. On every single restart over the full game, Argentina looked to do this. New Zealand's standard setup has a lifting pod here to beat any initial chasers from Argentina, with Surveyor and Talea behind to mop up any scraps if it goes longer, trusting they'll beat the chase of the ball. And so, Carreras sent them some scraps. The idea is to send it over the pod's head and just land it over Talea's shoulder, allowing the Argentine chase to get here and smoke them and create impossible ball to play off. They're not looking to regather it, but rather to pressure and really get in amongst New Zealand's clearances, which they identified as a clear weakness, and kickoffs give you the best chance to do that. On this example, New Zealand play 3 phases, but Argentina catch them behind the gain line time after time, resulting in Mackenzie, under huge pressure, slicing a kick into touch inside the 22. Argentina attack off the following line out and draw a penalty almost instantly, kicking a vital 3 points. However, it happened the whole game, and it wasn't just about pushing the All Blacks back, but also allowing Argentina to get into their own game. From that very first kick of the match, the very first kickoff, Carrera sends it pretty vanilla towards Talea. However, the winger isn't the important part here, right? For the lifting pod in front is led by Sam Darry, a lock making his international debut, playing literally his first 10 seconds of international rugby here. Sam Parry's Warrior had a really good game and is a fantastic player, having had a great Super Rugby season this year, but had played just 26 first-class games coming into this match, which might sound like a decent number. It's 26 more than I'll ever play, but when you consider the man he's replacing had played exactly 501 more than that, a little lack of experience in tiny moments such as these is to be expected amongst what was otherwise a really good debut. Darry doesn't jump. He leaves the catch to Talea because he's always the guy that's going to get it. And it allows Cinti and Maroney to hit the winger and send him backwards. Obviously, we can't say for certain, but a Whitelock or a Talic in this situation likely jumps just to work as a blocker, just to prevent Cinti from smashing through the pod. But this puts New Zealand on the back foot from the off. Rubiolo, with momentum, makes a great contact on Surveyor, taking the ball standing still, and it leads to 4 All Black forwards being sucked in this breakdown to try and retain the ball, with Perinara setting to kick. With 2 on either side to act as blockers, it leaves Lomax as the only real chasing forward on the open side. However, Talea is also only just getting back on side, back up to his feet after the tackle, and that negates any chase. He isn't in position to chase properly. As such, Malaya is under no pressure whatsoever when he covers the ball and drops it off to Carreras, who can look up and has time to target the forwards that are getting up from that ruck, running at Lomax's inside shoulder, hitting the guys who are getting there late because they were just in the breakdown seconds ago, and making an easy dominant carry to get Argentina on the front foot and launch a really strong attack. And from here, they're just on top. The Pumas are just on top. The ball is rapid, and seeing New Zealand and forwards have congested in this area, Argentina send the carriers straight in to tie them up, preventing them from spreading out any further. Kramer's width is outstanding here, a genuine threat to be watched, adjusting last second to hit the ruck, playing several roles. He takes out Vi, causing a huge mess at the breakdown. The All Black forwards are still clumped together and instinctively fold around the ruck, expecting another carry. This is a real theme throughout the game as well. Blackadder alone out here. Instead, Argentina flash blind, attacking Blackadder's side. All of the forwards now taken out the game. Malia's pass is brilliant and gets Carreras on the outside of Jordi. He fixes Talea and puts Gonzalez into space down the wing. Normally, right, the All Blacks have a big catch-up defence here, but they folded so aggressively, having come from that big kick chase and clear-out effort, that they're all on the far side of the ruck, meaning it's Blackadder alone working across. The cunning plan fails, it's a simple step, and the number 8 could be through if not for an outstanding cover tackle by Jordi Barrett. However, the fast ball remains, and Argentina continue targeting those clumps of Kiwi forwards, getting them to the floor to prevent that drift, prevent that catch-up defence drifting across, until here. Matera, probably Argentina's best carrier, hits a wide seam and takes 2 key defenders out of the game. As Reese is now the sole All Black outside, Barrett comes up from fullback to cut it off, Bowden Barrett, and sensing the danger, Reese shoots up on the following phase. However, he doesn't need to. Taylor and Vi have worked exceptionally hard to get into position and provide cover. That's what players do at international level. They work that hard. But Reese makes the read as though they're not going to be there, selling himself and allowing Carreras to make another glorious touch. Maroney wrapped around to the far wing, bursting through and almost putting the other winger and other Carreras in at the corner, if not for a vital intervention by King Bodie. This attack almost results in a try and originates in them disrupting the All Blacks at the kickoff. It seems like a perfunctory part of the game, but Argentina rode how much pressure they can put on the All Blacks, and particularly their clearances, at the kickoff to great effect on Saturday. This kick is beautiful, sailing onto Talea's outside, meaning he's going backwards as he catches it. Maroney and Sinti's superb here has him backpedaling, then faster than Eddie Jones writing his next book. Perinara taking a panicked pass. Nobody wants to be Sans 9 on their own try line, so he knows he has to just ship it on. He can't afford to take contact here, and Jordi has no choice but to just smash it up. However, prop Thomas Gajo is coming with such momentum, he could probably just pick up Jordi Barrett, put him in a wrapper and eat him, or at least go, fairly high and smash him in contact. But instead, he displays some of the best tackle choice you'll see all season, quickly assessing the situation and shifting to a chop around his ankles, getting him straight to ground. There's more blue shirts here than black, and this tackle choice presents the ball on a plate for Molina, who wins the turnover with ease, once again resulting in a vital 3 points. Because here's the thing this game taught us, right? The Scott Robertson All Blacks are broadly an excellent side, packed with skill and incredibly clinical, but they kind of suck at exits. It's kind of a huge problem for them. Talea here is once again the target. Darry not jumping, and he's driven back enormously. The ruck is a back foot mess. 5 forwards sucked in, and yet Perinara looks to kick off the base. Now, they're not popular amongst fans, but the Caterpillar ruck was invented for a reason, and yet maybe hearing Twitter ringing in his ears if he does set for one. Perinara opts not to call Vi or Papali in, and it makes it all too easy for Gonzalez to get up in the face and charge him down. He's got almost no time to kick this. However, in some ways, New Zealand do actually get away with one here because their chase line isn't set, and that's perhaps why they don't call anyone else in. They can't afford to. Talea is at the bottom of the ruck, leaving Papali and Barrett as the sole chasers on the blind side, likely giving Malaya even more time than he had in the first one to identify this. Lomax being even more isolated and asked to defend 20 solid meters on his own versus an Argentina backline that's probably getting back into position pretty quickly. We're looking at a try-scoring chance here if this ball doesn't get charged down. But hey, that gets charged down, they get another chance to clear off the line out, and they go and do exactly the same thing. A short ruck letting Molina get to Perinara and affect another charge down. These short rucks are such an issue. It's honestly basic shit, and the All Blacks are unbelievably lucky that the naive approach to tactical setup didn't result in 7 points either of these times. These short rucks are a massive gamble, and yet we also know exactly where to point the finger. For TJ Perinara had been inspired by Squarespace. The world's easiest to use and fastest website builder, Perinara was able to snap together a website in so little time, so little effort going in, that he thought, this is easy. A beautiful website put together in seconds with all sorts of features, polls, videos, photo galleries, blogs, storefronts, graphs, everything a growing Scrum Half could want and need. With Squarespace's new AI features, being able to make it even quicker to put together. And so, inspired by Squarespace, Perinara assumed that everything in life could be brought together that quickly and that easily, taking the same rapid-fire approach to setting rucks before box kick. But where the rucks then backfired them, Squarespace instead just produced fantastic results time after time, every single attempt. And if you want to find out for yourself just how amazing and excellent Squarespace's websites can be and how quickly they can be put together, you can head to the link in the description and use the offer code Squidge Rugby to save yourself some money. You'd think that marked the end of their kick-off kick troubles, but it just gets worse. It just gets more and more exploited. As right after a try that should have put them in control of the game, the All Blacks deploy some of the worst tactical kicking you'll see without buying a Scarlet season ticket. Carreras here slightly underhits the restart. Yes, I'm still talking about restarts, go with me. And so Darry does jump, taking it brilliantly. He turns that into a decent carry, and New Zealand are on the front foot here. 4 forwards committed, but it's going forward, no pressure, no one really set for the charge down. Perfect ball to exit off. Except Mackenzie here comes in flat and calls for a carry, and Argentina catch a pretty telegraphed play behind the game line. 3 forwards now committed, producing clean ball, but Mackenzie goes, yeah, let's reload, let's go again on the open side. The 4 forwards from the previous phase are all still off their feet, having been tied into that ruck, meaning Lomax is completely isolated and about to carry into contact alone. Barrett spots this last second and comes in to help out, with Blackadder making a great second effort, but Argentina have completely stood off each ruck, committing no numbers, leaving a full defence against this. DMAC calls it in the pocket. All 8 forwards are out the game here, just up from rucks on the far side and now in front of him as he kicks it. Geordie Barrett is tied into the ruck, and it means when he hangs this bomb, Beauden Barrett, the fullback, is forced to fill in for his brother and play the centre's role on the chase. A job he's almost never played in his 128 caps. As such, Beauden's not really sure where to stand, and Reese finds himself flying in against Carreras. It's a pretty decent kick, and Reese's work is excellent. This kick is always designed for a tap back. It's always designed for a player to not catch clean, but try and slap it back onto their own side. And Reese nails it. Except, when you look at teams that run that tap back tactic successfully, such as South Africa or England and Wales in the last World Cup, they all send in centres to take position across the field, also mark up and defend, and critically, almost always one of their tallest forwards so they can beat the backs in the air to the ball if it does come down on that side. New Zealand have none of that, having kicked on the back foot with all resources depleted, and a fullback who has no idea where to stand, filling in the place of a back rower and a centre. Instead of filling the space as his brother might, Bodie honeypots towards the ball, taking the same space as Leonard Brown, making himself basically a non-entity in the game. If the ball falls here, one of those two takes it. If it falls anywhere else, no one is in position to win it. Reese does win the ball, but instead of the 20-metre net gain he should be taking with one forward there or Geordie Barrett even in position, the ball bounces for Mateo Carreras, maybe the quickest player on the field, pretty much unopposed because no one is marking that space. No one set a kind of net for the tap back. He accelerates onto it brilliantly, and because Bodie was forced to chase, Mackenzie, just getting back into position after his kick, is the sole cover. Carreras beats the off-balance 10 with ease and finishes to get the Pumas back in touch. It's an utterly brilliant finish, one of the most joyous and superb and enjoyable to watch you'll see all year. But make no mistake, every part of this, before Carreras' step, is self-inflicted by the All Blacks. It's as close to an own try as you'll ever see. A team so committed to the plan to exit with a contestable cross kick, they forget to check if it's on. The All Blacks have such a talent on attack and such ability to play heads up in attack and defence to read the situation and react to it, but it felt like only Beauden Barrett was playing that same instinctive vision when it came to the kicking game. After the match, Scott Robertson said the team weren't executing the kick tactics they worked on off the field, but I suspect the issue may be instead they stuck to them too rigorously, too stringently, without checking the situation, playing the game plan into the game, and with it, right into Argentina's laps, constantly looking at situations where kicks weren't on, and yet they've been told all week, right, we kick contestable at our own 22 like this, we kick short off box kicks like this, and not setting properly for the situation in front of them. And it's frustrating because there's so much the All Blacks were getting right in the other 2/3 of the field, just they kept bombing it in their own 22 and just outside it. Darry's try is a brilliant moment of that heads-up rugby. Fullback Malaya here has just carried the ball into contact with Mateo Carreras in support as the knock-on comes, meaning 2 of the back 3 and Bertrand, the scrum half, who would normally be sweeping, are on this wing, so not in position behind. The one Remainer, Maroney, has such a big overlap to watch here, so he shoots up, as does all the other Argentines, meaning none of them are looking for the chip when Mackenzie puts it over. The dink is near perfect and regathers, allowing Bodie to do beauty. His support line is great, brilliantly timed, gets a headler play, but this kick is incredible. Spotting Taylor's call, he times it perfectly to draw the cover in. Instead of hoofing or grubbering it, he goes for a kind of spiral bomb, dropping the ball on the foot sideways. Planted perfectly in line with Taylor, it's inch perfect, because he knows it'll bounce upwards instead of onwards, both giving Taylor the best chance to get the ball, and ensuring if an RG does beat him to it, they're still in enormous trouble, as it's not going to roll dead over the try line. It bounces a touch too high, but Darry has worked incredibly hard to get there and goes over for a superb debut. try. And Leonard Brown's score to put them in control is exactly the kind of subtle shifting work I discussed in my Scott Robertson deep dive a few months ago. With all forwards committed around the ruck, the shape is so simple. It's like an inversion of the Hugh Pilotu triangle Scotland have got so good at running, where the first receiver slips round the back and becomes the second receiver. They start with Geordie Barrett as the main man playing 10, and as such Moroney here is watching Leonard Brown at 13. That's his man, that's the guy he's got to go for. However, as Perenara picks up the ball, Barrett shuffles backwards and DMAC forwards, shifting the paradigm. Moroney's man is now Barrett. He's now watching for a different guy entirely, so he shoots up on him. The pair's body language is excellent, selling it so well Moroney doesn't notice his man has once again changed to become Leonard Brown again, phasing onto his outside until it's too late. It's lovely, simple rugby. All three players here committed to just confusing one sole defender, and it works and makes for such a well-taken, simple, excellent try. And yet, none of those beats were enough because they simply didn't get enough chances to do that. This was a game with a world record equaling total of just 4 scrums, the joint fewest we've ever seen in an international rugby match. The first not setting until after the hour mark, which no doubt is a world record as well. In modern international rugby, defences are so good, so joined up, so painted with fail-safes. If you're going to attack effectively, if you're going to break them down, you need another element of your game that can feed the attack. This is a universal theme. You can't depower the opposition without using another part of the game to create situations in which that defence isn't set, or at least isn't on top. And seeing as the All Black defence is built to absorb rather than create errors and turnovers a la the Springboks in England who use that to feed their attack, and Argentina were streetwise, playing almost no rugby in their own half to prevent the breakdown turnovers becoming an issue, that kinda only left 2 options. 1, set piece dominance, and 2, the kicking game. And then, in a mad act of God or incredible accuracy from Argentina, the All Blacks went the entire game without a single scrum put in. The Pumas made just 2 knock-ons all game, one leading to the try for Darry, and the other worked quite nicely into this 40-metre net gain from a knee cross kick. That left the All Blacks without a single chance to launch on their own terms and showcase the kind of scrum power that's been such a weapon this last year, or even get on top, get a nudge, and play off first phase from football. It just removed a means for them to get their attack going. And so it came down to the kicking game. And New Zealand just couldn't get it going against a much smarter, more accurate Pumas side, who used their own kick chase as a means to open up the game, slaughtering them in a kick battle here. Argentina advancing every time they received the ball and bombing it longer, till eventually they are able to launch a counterattack because they're taking the ball around halfway, and Matera's pick and go allowing Carreras and Gajo to pin Blackadder on the floor, bottom of the breakdown, and win a penalty. Argentina won every kick battle over the course of this game, the All Blacks regularly struggling to get on top, and as such with none of those aspects working, those good things going for the Kiwis were entirely reliant on Puma indiscipline to get themselves into the opposition half. And for half an hour, that was enough. Argentina were much the better team in that first 30, but their discipline was so poor, so like the poorest... I can scarcely remember a worse half hour for discipline, and if there is a worse one, it'll also be Argentina. That 10-0 felt like a fair reflection of the game. However, after conceding 10 pens in 30 minutes, Argentina led up only 3 in the following 50. Astoundingly, just 2 after Thomas Lavanini took to the field. The Achilles heel taken to the Waisaki Naholo cave in Fiji, and allowing Argentina to just be smart, accurate, and immensely physical. It left New Zealand second-guessing themselves and overplaying. Barrett forcing an offload here, or off this lineup, they just smash it up and set to box kick. But with that not going well, Geordie calls for them to keep it in hand instead. Except they're well marked up, and so whilst they make ground, they're so tight up against the best defender, TM, it's just a panicked run of offloads and lobs, resulting in Lomax here having to carry into heavy traffic, no other choice. Outnumbered, allowing Molina to target the ball and just strip the bastard. Gajo fixing his man and shipping it wide. With so many All Blacks tied in to the touchline, post line out, then set for the box kick, then to retain the ball, Matera has the time to weigh things up. There's no fret and no fold. There's no pressure on him. And this allows for a brilliant, brief chess match between 2 world-class readers of the game. Leonard Brown makes a great read. There's about 30 things Matera could do here, and he shuts off 29 of them. And so, Shocker Barros here has only a second and a half to find that one. But man, does he do it. Shifting his line and exploding onto Matera's pass, changing from an overs to an unders line and breaking the line perfectly timed. It's superb. He then applies the same sense of timing to the pass, putting centre partner Cinti over for Argentina's opening try. It's glorious. Lovely touch from Matera to open up the time, and lovely, beautiful from Shocker Barros. I've scarcely mentioned it, but having watched the game a few times now, I think Santiago Shocker Barros was the best player on the pitch. His every involvement is dripped in game intelligence. This running line is incredible. The way he sells it so completely, defense ignore the ball carrier, is amazing. He's a rare sort of player, and I know how hyperbolic this sounds, who I genuinely think if you dropped him into Australia, or particularly Wales, you could solve half their problems overnight and probably get them to win a test against, like, I don't know, Norway, That's the kind of quality we're talking. Such is his brilliant, all-round, smart, but also physical game. And yet, this day didn't belong to the best player over 80, but rather the 20 that mattered. As after a relentless scrumless 60, Argentina brought on the changes and changed the game with it. After playing with pace for the first hour, they slowed the game right down towards the end. For the first half, every ball was in and out the line-out quickly. Restarts took no time at all. And yet, the moment they reach the hour, there's over a minute between this penalty being awarded and them lobbing the ball in. Suddenly, every prop is pulling it with minor injuries and forcing stoppages. Contepomi smartly bringing his changes on right as the ball here is about to enter the line-out, slowing it down, causing another stoppage, frustrating the All Blacks and allowing them to stretch that advantage, leading the heroic winning try by God King Agustin. These two compound errors were a real turning point in the game. Perhaps the moment the All Blacks went from to, oh God, this really isn't our day. But that change in attitude was a result of how relentless the Pumas had been all match. Their defence was rock solid, aggressive yet never oversold. Their attack fluent but smart. Their kicking game feeding the other two. Fantastic kicks like this from Malia commonplace. And so, when they got their chance, they knew they could execute because even when they were behind, they spent the whole game playing a near flawless game plan so expertly it produced results time after time, produced points time after time. This was just one task more. Oviedo explodes off the scrum to keep the pressure on. The All Blacks have shifted DMAC out one to protect him a little. However, that kind of becomes the problem because that is what Argentina target. There's a rapid pick and go left and New Zealand adapt, once again folding everyone in one go. This theme remaining in place. Everyone gets on this side. Elias looking that way exclusively, looking to target the left before darting the other way on the right, leaving DMAC, the smallest guy in black, defending here. He's an obvious target. The Kiwis fold quickly enough to cover him, but he only bounces one out, positioning himself between the posts. Creevy, meanwhile, takes position as well, starting on the post left, but as the pass comes, he shuffles slightly to the right between them. Tubovai has just taken Mackenzie's position in the last second and a half, figuring him as a second row is better to stop this carry than a fly off in Mackenzie, but there's almost zero chance of the second row getting low enough in a second and a half to stop him. Creevy barges over, grounds it, scores it, and takes the lead himself. And from there, he just becomes something else, a 20-year tank emptying as he pours every drop left of him onto the field, stealing lineouts, making carries, exploding off mauls, and then producing the key moment, with the All Blacks looking to take the lead, and Wallace Satiti carrying in tight. Creevy picks his moment and locks over the ball, winning the penalty. Creevy turning over, and this is incredible, the son of Semo Satiti, his opposite number from his first start for Argentina all the way back in 2005. It's a turnover that gets Argentina in position for the most vital of those vital 3-pointers, the shot that wins them the game a few minutes later. Once they sorted out the discipline problem, it's hard to argue that Argentina weren't the better team in almost every area on Saturday, scoring the most points they ever have against the All Blacks. Now, the majority of the major problems for New Zealand are things that can be sorted out in a week, 2 at most. It's little learnings to take on board, a lot of just changing how they exit. A few sessions on that can probably fix things up. Little moments of tightness and awareness and just looking and scanning the situation you're in before kicking the ball blindly. Yet every single one of those areas was forced by Argentina. Every weakness, every error, every drop of blood squeezed relentlessly by a team playing with such heart, such character, and best of all, such belief and composure. In our preview last week, I compared Contepomi's Argentina to Contepomi himself as a player, and that total belief in himself was one of the former fly half's defining features, and he seems to have installed that into his team in record time. The two teams go again at Eden Park this weekend, with Argentina seeking to avoid the hideous return matches that followed both of their previous wins against New Zealand in a stadium where the All Blacks haven't lost since 1994. But after a 19-year wait shows that miracles are possible for those who commit and believe and work that bloody hard. What's to say a 30-year wait isn't about to finally end this weekend? Rugby. Thank you for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. The rugby is happening. That's the first round of the Rugby Championship. We won't be covering the Springboks game this weekend, I'm afraid, but we will be looking at future weeks, including a video on the history of New Zealand versus South Africa as a fixture. We've got a preview on the Rugby Championship, which has aged reasonably well, I think.
For the first time ever?
Yeah, like it's all right. You know, we look to make it fairly evergreen. All the points around the teams still apply. So
it's not all in the past, you know. It's all still applicable. There's still points in there.
We say it in the future tense. It's now the present tense.
If you want.
So, yeah, please have a look at that. We're doing the World Cup podcast. We'll be back next week?
Next week, all being well, we're going to look at 2014 Rugby World Cup, so fingers crossed.
That's the plan. There's loads more going on. Please have a look around. Please have a thumb around. And I will see you very soon when there shall be more...
Don't tell me.
Rugby.
I'm 39. This is my first time here, and in my whole life to win New Zealand. For that, it's so important for me and for the whole team. We work a lot. It's tough sometimes, and now this game for us is fucking amazing.